Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a snowy Friday night, almost Christmas 2024. And tonight, I'm going to put the distributor in my 377 small block Chevrolet project. That is a 400 block 350 crank. It's 4155 bore. Going to be a nice motor, long time coming. Video earlier today, I bolted the intake manifold on. Promised I would show you how I install a Chevrolet distributor. Doesn't even have to be Chevrolet really. If you know the layout of the engine, you can figure it out. But my distributor of choice, I had to search for it. I have this Mallory Comp SS. It came in a 427 small block race motor that I have. This is not a good application for that. It looks like it was just stuck in there, even though it does have a brass gear. But it has advance. It has 24 degrees of mechanical advance built in. Not something I want in a race motor. In fact, I just took a crank trigger distributor and put it back in the hole where this goes. And actually, I should have done a video on that because I actually lined it up properly, because I can't just jab it in there willy-nilly. Even though I'm not going to start it today or tomorrow, my brain won't let me do it. I got to go get a ratchet, spin the engine around just like we're going to do tonight. So, previously mentioned, this has 24 degrees advance. You need to combine your initial timing plus the degrees of advance to get your total. It's that simple. So in this case, I'm going to have 12 degrees initial timing. That'll allow the starter not to drag. It'll idle and perform just fine at low speed. And then whatever curve this has in it, when the weights fly out and the timing advances, that's what happens inside a distributor with an advance curve, mechanical. There's no vacuum canister that's out of the picture. So we only have mechanical advance. We don't have mechanical and vacuum, just mechanical. So we want 12 degrees initial plus 24. That's going to give you 36 total at around 2,500 to 3,000 RPMs. I assume this is an old distributor. The part number is still good. So here's the power and the beauty of the internet. I needed to know whether my camshaft required a special gear. I have a Comp Cams roller cam that I bought slightly used a long time, 5 years ago, but the part number is still good. The camshaft is still in stock at Summit, and so are the instructions. And it says you have to have a brass, also known as a sacrificial gear, more race car, or a melanized gear, which is a softer iron gear. It's not steel, but those are the two acceptable gears. You cannot put a stock distributor on this roller camshaft. Or either the cam gear or the distributor gear, or both are going to die. So in this case, the bronze gear is going to die first. It comes out with the distributor. Not the end of the world. The brass would probably get caught in the filter. Minimal damage. Personally, I've never really seen one wear out. I don't know how many miles that would take, but you got to figure on drag week, etc. Cars with, bronze gears are getting some miles on them. This distributor requires an ignition box. All you have coming out are two wires. That would be the magnetic pickup signal, high and low, square wave. So, beauty of the internet, I looked up the part number on Summit. The instructions still exist. I'm going to print them out before they disappear. Hope I didn't already say that already. And it tells you there's an advanced modification kit you can buy if you didn't like the advanced curve built in. But you don't have to have a Mallory box. You can run a MSD box or whoever's brand capacitive discharge box you can find. I have an old 6AL box. I think I have a 7AL box MSD. But this distributor will do nothing by itself. It also requires an external coil. And I'll have to look up what coils are compatible with it. So I went ahead and cleaned it up a little bit. It wasn't bad at all. I remarked it where I want the number one plug wire. Also marked it on the body of the distributor. And that is any way you want to put it, but I prefer right there. But before, so when we put this in, I'm going to line the rotor up with my number 1 cylinder mark, but we have to prepare the engine first. Me being me, and looking at what I'm seeing on the engine right now, I'm pretty sure a year ago when I adjusted the valves, etc., I rolled it around and up on top dead center cylinder number 1. On a Chevrolet, small or big block, when you put the timing marks, when you install the camshaft and the timing set, when you put the marks dot to dot, so the crankshaft's at 12, camshaft's at 6 o'clock, that is firing cylinder number 6. That is not number 1 top dead center. Number 1's in overlap between exhaust and the intake. Between the exhaust rushing out of the engine and the intake opening, that's overlap. So everything we're doing, if you wanted to put the dot to dots on the cam gear and the crank gear together, and then do everything we're doing, point to number 6, go right ahead, but nobody really does it that way. However, I'm sure many times in your life you've heard, oh, the distributor's 180 degrees out. Well, that's because somebody put the distributor in with the timing marks lined up like you do when you assemble the timing chain set. So you need everything at 12 o'clock. The crankshaft goes around twice, the camshaft goes around once. So when you roll the crankshaft 180 degrees from dot to dot, now you're at 12 o'clock, and that's where we need to be. But we can't see the timing chain because we have a timing cover on it. So you could roll it around, have your finger in the number 1 spark plug hole when it starts to blow air. Watch your harmonic balancer and the markings on it. A stock one at least even has, top dead center on it. Hopefully some timing marks, but in this case, I'm going to roll it around till I know I'm up on number 1 compression, and I'm going to stop at 12 degrees before top dead center, what I want for initial timing. So let's roll her over. Got a 5/8 socket on a big ratchet. This is not a setup. I haven't touched this since a year ago. But I'm going to watch the valves for the number 1 cylinder. There goes the exhaust valve. Lines up with the exhaust port. It's opening and closing. Now there goes the intake valve. Lines up with the intake port. That means we'll be taking in air fuel. Now the intake's closing. That means the next step is compression. So now I need to start watching my timing marks. Right there, I'm on 12 degrees before top dead center. Not sure if you can see it, but this is just a street balancer. It's not SFI approved. However, the marking is fantastic. My number is actually on the timing mark, and we're at 12 degrees exactly. Now, we're just going to take the distributor, and I want, on a Chevy engine, I want number 1 to be driver's side as far forward as possible. Now, when you drop the distributor in, it turns, so you got to start over here. When it drops in, it's going to go like that. So try not to block you, but we're not in the oil pump, but that's pretty close. So don't worry the fact it's not in the oil pump. Let's just roll it around until it drops in. I'm going to go around twice and come back where we're at. So I can watch the valves, or I can just spin it, but when you watch the distributor, it's going to fall in the oil pump eventually. That's one trip around. Probably going to require me to push on at the same time. There we go. We're in. So, my marks are lined up. 12 degrees right there. We're lined up perfect. If you have any doubt, just roll it around again. Watch the valves, watch the mark, but it's that easy. Now, when you go to start it, say you got to break in your camshaft or something, it's going to start. The mistake most people make is they roll it around up to 0. Your engine doesn't run at 0 degrees timing unless you have like a throttle body EFI that still had a distributor. Those you set to 0. So you need to know what your initial is. Stock ones will usually 6, 8, 10 degrees. The more performance oriented you get, you usually have a little more lead or a little more ignition timing at idle. So 12 is a good number. I know I got 24 in the distributor. If I was to run this right now with the timing light, rev it up, I should see 36 total. So let's continue. I got to find some plug wires, and I happen to be a collector of those, so let's see what I can find and route those. I am a hoarder of spark plug wires. I wouldn't venture a guess how many sets I have. Recently, I picked up 3 sets of these from another enabler friend of mine. He says, hey, we're having a closeout, $13 for this set of wires. With this distributor, the instructions clearly stated it when I looked it up earlier. You have to have a suppression wire, no solid plug wires, solid core. We used to call those audible tachometers. You'd put them in your car, you'd save up all your money, go spend 20, 30 bucks. This is back in the early 80s. On a set of Acel plug wires, the yellow ones. I have some of those somewhere too, but it's snowing out. These were 6 feet away. This is what we're putting on tonight. Anyway, you put on the solid wires and you could never hear your stereo again, but that's okay because it was cool. And you could do that with points and etc. But now with sensitive electronics, you have to have resistance wires. This has got 500 ohms of resistance. These are 8mm wires. Nothing special, black in color. How do we figure out where they go? Because I'm not going to lie, and you're free to do the same. I judge you by your plug wires. I try not to, but I can't help myself. It's one of the things I care about, and it looks like if you just threw them on there, you know, a lot of people seem like they crack the hood, they shake the box out, and close the hood. You can do better than that. And this is going to be super low tech, but the way I determine what goes where, I mean, I've got my distributor locked down, which, by the way, I put a distributor hold down while you weren't watching. You know, I know it's 1843657 around the cap clockwise, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out. So 1843, 3's a long ways away, but not quite as far as 6572 is slightly longer. So I just hold them all up by the end, and you got the 2 longest wires, one slightly shorter than the other, and I'm going to work my way around by approximate distance. And it's really is that easy. So I'll be back. Well, that's enough fun for tonight. The plug wires being universal fit, it means just that. They fit nothing well and some things not at all. But they're adequate. The wire separators are nothing but cheap Harbor Freight wire ties. You know, wrap around and then a wire tie between each plug wire wherever you want them. Cheap, easy. My only request is that you cut the wire ties with a knife smooth, or I'm not working on your heap because I'm not cutting the back of my hand every time I get near the plug wires. So be kind and cut them off smooth. Other than that, I got a 750 Holly I got to rebuild. It's kind of ugly, but it'll be fine. And the distributor, hopefully it works. We'll find out soon. I think I've always wanted to build an engine test run stand, but I might just use the 47 Ford frame when I get to the point with the radiator and stuff there. That might be easier just to set it in, run it a little bit with a carburetor. Don't mind getting wet with fuel, and then fog it down pretty good and let it sit till it eventually, and that's the plan, to put it in the 56 Chevrolet 210 wagon, handyman wagon. It's out in a trailer, and with a Doug Nash 5-speed behind it, and a 9-inch Ford with, I think, a 360 gear, 370, something like that. Anyway, that's my plan. Done for the night. Enjoy your Friday night. Second video of the day. I'm going to go ahead and post it. Why not? Take it easy.